Pakistan has been saying on it. The past few days, remember, have seen Pakistan fight a deadly insurgency in Balochistan, an extensive, arid and rugged plateau that covers nearly 40% of the country's entire landmass. Balochistan's fight for autonomy is as old as Pakistan itself, but recent attacks by Baloch Liberation Army, or the BLA, has widened more than half a century-old rupture. The exchange of fire has been taking place across Balochistan. Pakistan's security forces are carrying out a major counter-insurgency operation, but sporadic attacks have caused hundreds of casualties on both sides. 250 people have been killed so far, including members of the Pakistani army. As per the latest official figures, Pakistan forces have killed 197 BLA fighters. That's according to Pakistan. But Pakistan has admitted that its army is crippled against Baloch fighters. Addressing Pakistan's National Assembly, its defense minister Khwaja Asif said that Balochistan is much more difficult to control than a populated city and needs massive force deployment. He said, and I quote, "Our troops are deployed there and are in action, but they are physically handicapped by guarding and patrolling such a big area." In fact, Khwaja Asif also admitted that Baloch fighters are well trained and better equipped than before. Revolts, remember, are not new in Pakistan. The conflict and the crackdown in Balochistan has revived the old memories of 1971 when Bangladesh got its independence from the then West Pakistan. Naeem Khalid Lodhi, a retired top commander of Pakistani army, has drawn parallels between both situations. Lodhi highlighted how the army was calling the shots in both situations and the leadership thought they were, and I quote, "Mr. Know-it-all." He said the current political dynamic resembles that of 1971. Lodhi highlighted how politicians and the army kept blaming each other for everything bad in 1971. General Lodhi also reminded that one person, that's General Yahya Khan, held power in 1971 while Lodhi did not name him. The current military chief, Asim Munir, has significantly consolidated power in the recent months. It appears that Pakistani army is deploying the same playbook in Balochistan that it did in Bangladesh. The intensity may vary, but the tools remain the same. According to a report published by Human Rights Watch, 10,618 cases of missing persons have been reported in Pakistan between 2011 and August of 2025. Not just this, major Baloch leaders like Maharang Baloch and Samidin Baloch are under arrest. Military brutality under Operation Searchlight in 1971, the lack of political representation, and intimidation tactics. The factors that resulted in Bangladesh's independence in 1971 are also at play now in Balochistan. All right, let me now welcome my guests on the show. Mehran Mari, who's a prominent Baloch human rights activist and a Baloch representative at the United Nations as well as European Union, is joining us live from London at the moment. Good evening and welcome to WION, Mehran. I want to start by asking you, this time around, Operation Hair Off 2.0 has been massive. And the kind of casualties that the Pakistani army says, it has been downplaying it. But the BLA, of course, has been giving out the numbers on their side as well. How do you see this? Because Pakistan has been downplaying this entire operation, but clearly the visuals that are emerging out of different districts of Balochistan give a completely different picture.
Yes, absolutely. It has been a monumental assault on the occupying forces of Pakistan. So the Baloch have really done something that the armed forces of Pakistan did not expect that. And you could see the hierarchy, the leadership, they got tears in their eyes. I mean, I think the casualties are in the thousands. They're denying it, but they're in the thousands. With time, we will find out exactly what the numbers are. The interesting thing at play over here is they're so paranoid and scared after this assault that I think they can see the independence of Balochistan coming to a reality. And by Khwaja Asif, the defense minister, yesterday in the parliament said, "Oh, Baloch fighters have better weapons than us. That's the reason they're they're conducting such strong operations against us, and therefore we're getting casualties. So that, what does that mean? You know, Pakistani military is not a military; it's a business establishment. So what it wants is going to ask America and China, and probably loot more of its kitty in-house. So the generals realize that once the Balochistan independence gains success, the generals will have no leg to stand on. They all have to run away to Middle East and Australia, Canada, England, the US. So they need money. They need money to live outside in their lavish lives. So they are going to try to wheel in people to pay for their future lavish lives abroad. So they can see the liberation movement taking a very strong foothold in Balochistan.
Mehran, you know, I also want to talk a bit about how women BLA fighters have come to the fore. A lot of pictures being shared of those who have participated in Operation Herof 2.0. And many are saying that, look, when women start fighting the battles, it means that you've really touched the core of the entire social fabric, because these are people who nurture families, who nurture children, who are basically guardians of families. And if they are the ones who are, you know, coming down to battle with the Pakistani army, it really means that the hurt, the pain is very, very deep.
The fabric of Baloch society has been torn apart by 80 years of illegal occupation by Pakistani brutal military force and its intelligence agencies. The humiliation the Baloch face on a daily basis, the disrespect that women feel, and most of all, the pain of their loved ones disappeared and later finding out their dead bodies with torture marks. They've been scarred for life. So many young women from the age of 17 to 60 who participated in this fight. I mean, this is not by coincidence. This is all made up by Pakistan's deeds in Balochistan. Now it's a national liberation struggle. It's not something sponsored by India or the RAW or Israel or America. This is an organic, grassroots liberation movement. Enough is enough. We will not take this anymore. The world has been silent throughout because Pakistan is the blue-eyed boys of the colonial powers. They do all the dirty jobs everywhere. Now they're going to go kill Palestinians very soon with them being on the peace board. I mean, that's a mockery of the peace board. Having Pakistani butchers on a peace board. I mean, this is, I'm telling you, the Baloch are realizing we have to step up our game. Otherwise, we will be butchered, like the Bengalis were.
Mehran, I'm glad that you give out that clarification that it's not India-sponsored, because that is something that the Pakistani establishment has been saying. But also, you know, I want to understand you then, how do you think a solution will come? Because this is a conflict between Balochistan and the Pakistani establishment that started way back under the British colonial rule, when there was division and rule, and there was, you know, the Balochis were sidelined by the then Pakistani rulers as well. And there are a lot of reasons to it, whether it's the Punjabi dominance there, Punjabi community dominance, or the resource exploitation that happened, or, you know, the kind of suppression that Balochis have seen over the past several decades. Do you therefore think the solution should be military, or it should be a political solution?
Liberation is the solution. There can be no political solution unless Pakistan withdraws its personnel and its forces and its fake politicians from the Baloch land. Imagine a scenario like if Ukraine was attacked continuously for 80 years by its neighbor who wanted to occupy it, and the entire Europe was saying, listen, we do not want to get involved. It's their personal matter. We do not interfere in the internal affairs of other countries. That's how we have felt for 80 years. Our neighbors have been silent. The United Nations has been silent. The world powers have been silent. The Baloch have been struggling. So if we are at the stage where we are, out of great desperation, you think young, beautiful people want to self-sacrifice by choice? No. It's a desperate cry for help. But you know what? We will succeed. The whole idea is that we know we're going to succeed because we put in a lot of hopes. Me going to the United Nations for over 20 years, begging the world to interfere, to intervene, to somehow halt these hostilities against the Baloch population. Civil population, mostly it's been against women and children. The biggest victims of this war has been women and children.
Do you think, Mehran, Operation Herof 2.0 will get the attention that you're trying to get globally?
See, globally, the world is deaf and dumb. We have seen that for 80 years. Getting the attention is the wrong word, but the world has to acknowledge our issue. There is a burning issue of an illegal occupation. The other occupations in the world are acknowledged, why ours is not. We should be supplied with help of all sorts, like Ukraine is being helped. I think India, the neighboring other countries, the OIC, the Arab countries should be helping us in our war of liberation. At least they should hold that bulldog that they feed, called Pakistan.
Okay. All right, I'll leave it there. Mehran Mari, thank you very much for speaking with us on WION and sharing your perspective. Let's wait and watch what happens in the next few weeks and months, how the Pakistani establishment plans to resolve this entire crisis. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's now shift our focus to the breaking news that's coming in from the United States of America. The Trump administration has now said that they will be removing 700 immigration officers, that's ICE agents, from Minneapolis. This, remember, comes in as Border Czar Tom Homan spoke with the media today. He addressed the media and he said that there will be a withdrawal of 700 ICE officers that will be effective immediately. The administration has sent in Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, remember, to the city last week to diffuse tensions between the federal agents and several in the city who have been protesting their presence. There have been chants of ICE out after the two shootings that happened in Minneapolis. Protests escalated across the state of Minnesota after ICE agents had killed Renee Nicole Good as well as Alex Pretty. So this one, of course, a big announcement coming in from Tom Homan saying 700 ICE officers will be withdrawn effective immediately. Extremely significant development happening there at the moment.
Increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel.
Let me also go across to Susan Teherani. She's joining us from New York. Susan, this is a big development, a big announcement made by Tom Homan. Many would say this is too late in action after the two shootings and the protests. But Tom Homan has been sort of able to diffuse that situation, saying that 700 ICE agents will be withdrawn. Do you think the protesters will now back down and they will withdraw their protests?
So it's very important to note that the reason for this drawdown is because Minneapolis local and state authorities have agreed to have an unprecedented cooperation with ICE and the Department of Homeland Security and the team that's run under Tom Homan. And for that reason, because these agents are now able to go into prisons and apprehend those that have criminal records and they have all access, then there is no need for these 700 additional ICE agents. The reason they were on the streets was because the state and local authorities were not cooperating with the Department of Homeland Security. But he also made clear that this is not a surrender. The mass deportations are going to continue, and there's still going to be thousands of other ICE agents in Minnesota. And he said, we're not leaving until the mission is complete. But nonetheless, I think from an optics perspective, you're absolutely right. Because of this headline, now there may be a lowering of temperature from those protesters because they won't be seeing these agents in their streets and perhaps in libraries, at grocery stores, in schools and whatnot. And they're going to be hyper-focused on, the criminals and the jails and the police stations. So absolutely significant development indeed. But again, Homan was very clear to say he really wanted to get this out, that this is not a surrender by the Trump administration.
So both sides, of course, unrelenting. But as you say, interesting reason that Tom Homan has announced this, considering the fact that Minnesota state authorities have agreed to sort of let ICE agents into where they want to inspect illegal immigrants. Susan, thanks very much for joining us at the moment and getting us the latest. Well, keeping with news from America, the fallout from the latest release of the Epstein files continues. The UK and Poland have now launched probes to look into the impact Former US President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary are all set to testify in the Congress. But remember, President Donald Trump wants Americans to move on from the scandal. Trump once again insisted that he has been cleared by the release of millions of new documents and claimed that the issue was not a Republican but a Democrat problem. Reacting to the news of the Clintons testifying in a congressional investigation into Epstein, Trump called it a shame, adding that he feels bad for them. Trump also lost his cool at another female journalist after she asked him questions relating to Epstein survivors. Donald Trump berated CNN reporter Kathleen Collins, saying that she never smiles and that she's the worst reporter.
What would you say to the survivors who feel that
you are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile in your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you.
Okay, survivors of a sexual abuser. Healthcare.
Trump did not say much when asked about former British envoy to the US, Peter Mandelson. Remember, Mandelson has resigned from the House of Lords after his name appeared in the files. He's also facing a full criminal investigation over alleged leaking of market-sensitive information from Downing Street to Epstein. The Times, in fact, reported that detectives are expected to interview Mandelson and take statements from other senior Labour figures as well as witnesses, including former Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Mandelson, remember, was a minister in the Brown government when the alleged leak took place. Meanwhile, Britain's former Prince Andrew has moved from his luxurious Windsor residence to a royal estate in eastern England. Andrew is facing renewed scrutiny over his ties to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein after the release of the new files. Reports in British media claim that his older brother, King Charles, had pressured Andrew to expedite the move after the latest round of revelations. Poland, meanwhile, is also launching an investigation into possible links between the late American sex offender and Russian intelligence. Prime Minister Donald Tusk has said that a team will investigate any potential fallout in Poland from Epstein's crimes, especially into the possibility of Epstein being a Russian spy.
A growing number of commentators and experts assume that it is highly probable that this pedophilia scandal was a premeditated operation by the Russian KGB. This so-called honey trap, a sweet bait, a trap set for the elites of the Western world, primarily the United States.
Russia has not commented on the Epstein files yet. According to media reports, the documents released by the US Justice Department show Epstein sought a meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, but it is unclear if they ever met. And shifting our focus now to India, where more action unfolded outside the parliament than inside the corridors. Day 3 of the ongoing budget session ended in adjournment. The speaker adjourned Lok Sabha due to consistent slogans and chants from the opposition lawmakers. Outside the chambers, 8 suspended members of the parliament protested against the Indian Prime Minister and the ruling dispensation. Rahul Gandhi was seen holding a copy of the unpublished memoir of former Indian Army Chief General M.M. Naravane, which has been at the center of a parliament row for the past 2 days. The Lok Sabha leader of opposition and others accused the government of falsely claiming that the unpublished book does not exist. Rahul, remember, has doubled down on the government while citing excerpts from Naravane's account. A war of words also broke out between Congress leader Rahul Gandhi and former Congress and now BJP leader Ravneet Singh Bittu. The tense exchange took place outside the parliament when Rahul saw Bittu and claimed him, and I quote, traitor friend. Take a look at this moment.
Traitor walking right by. Take a look at the face. That's what it looks like. Hello, brother. My traitor friend. Surrender. Don't worry, you'll come back. Surrender.
Well, moving on, the voter list revision row has escalated in West Bengal. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee personally appeared and argued before the Supreme Court of India today, launching a direct attack on the Election Commission of India. The Trinamool Congress leader claimed that Bengal is being singled out and that its voters are systematically being erased. Mamata Banerjee challenged the Special Intensive Revision or the SIR of the electoral rolls, alleging that it is politically motivated and designed to disenfranchise voters in Bengal ahead of the crucial assembly elections. She told the court that nearly 58 lakh names were deleted in the first phase itself, many, she claimed, without giving voters a chance to appeal. The bench was headed by the Chief Justice of India, Suryakant, where the Chief Minister threw a pointed question, and I quote, "Why was the exercise rushed into a 4-month window after a gap of 24 years? And why only West Bengal?" And then came the sharpest barb. Mamata Banerjee referred to the poll body as a WhatsApp commission and voiced frustration over its silence.
That we are not getting justice anywhere. So many times I have written 6 letters to Election Commission, including all the details, but no reply, sir. I'm a bonded labor, sir. Maybe I prefer that. I'm a very less important person. I prefer that.
Following the hearing, the Supreme Court issued a notice to the Election Commission directing it to file its response by the 10th of February. The matter will be again heard next week. But remember, as chaos surfaced outside the court, Trinamool Congress MP and senior advocate Kalyan Banerjee reaffirmed the Chief Minister's allegations in the court that micro-observers from the Bharatiya Janata Party ruled states carried out the deletions while local electoral staff were sidelined. After the raging escalation, all eyes are now on Mamata Banerjee, the Election Commission of India and the Supreme Court, with this face-off far from over. Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the son of the late Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi and once considered his heir apparent, has been killed in the North African country. Saif al-Islam was 53 years old. Libyan officials say that Saif was killed in the town of Zintan, which is southwest of the capital Tripoli. Though the circumstances of his death remain unclear, local media reported that armed men entered his home and killed him. Prosecutors are now probing the killing. His lawyer confirmed his death on Facebook without providing any details. Educated at the London School of Economics, Saif al-Islam was long seen as the reformist face of the Gaddafi regime. He played a prominent role in shaping policy before the 2011 uprising that toppled his father. After Muammar Gaddafi was toppled in 2011 and killed, Saif was captured while attempting to flee Libya to the neighboring Niger. He was held for years by fighters before being released in June 2017, and since then, he was living in Zintan. In 2015, a Libyan court sentenced him to death in absentia for inciting violence and killing the protesters. He was also wanted by the International Criminal Court on charges of crimes against humanity in connection with the 2011 uprising. Then in 2021, he attempted a political comeback, registering as a presidential candidate. But the elections could not take place due to a political deadlock. The news of his death underscores the ongoing volatility in Libya's political landscape, and it marks the end of a controversial chapter in the history of the Gaddafi family.
They are self-appointed.
And shifting our focus now to Venezuela, where the country has marked 1 month since the capture of Nicolas Maduro. A lot has happened since the country's longtime president was deposed by the American military. Venezuela's establishment has put their weight behind the interim president, Delcy Rodriguez. But despite his absence, Maduro's popularity and the political clout remain strong in Venezuela. Thousands of Venezuelans took to the streets of Caracas, demanding the release of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Maduro's son was also present at this mega event, and in his address, Nicolas Maduro Guerra invited the U.S. to engage in a constructive debate.
We invite the people of the United States to engage in dialogue within the framework of a constructive debate that allows us to choose which is the best model for each society. We respect if the United States has its model, but we ask the people of the United States and demand that they let us, not the model we want to develop our country in peace, in coexistence.
Interim leader Delcy Rodriguez appeared on television and she was flanked by Maduro's right-hand man, Diosdado Cabello, and the National Assembly President George Rodriguez. She said that Venezuela has transformed in the last 30 days.
In these 30 days since the capture of Nicolas Maduro and Cilia Flores, we have said that Venezuela has transformed and grown in response to the impact of aggression by the United States, transforming it into tranquility, into caring for peace now more than ever.
Venezuela's interim government is facing a major challenge, a comprehensive deal to end America's so-called oil quarantine. Diplomatic efforts are already underway. Delcy Rodriguez has held meetings with the U.S. envoy in Caracas, as well as a telephonic conversation with President Trump. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. But as always, we'll keep getting you news and analysis from across the world and here in India. Thank you very much for joining us at the moment. Bye-bye.